Now, the marriage ruling is also continuing to draw fierce criticism from GOP presidential candidates. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker and Texas Senator Ted Cruz are now calling for a constitutional amendment that would allow states to define marriage for themselves. Walker and Cruz, as well as other conservatives, are also calling for legal protections for individuals and businesses so they, quote, do not have to participate in activities that violate their deeply held religious beliefs. Joining me to talk about this ruling as well as the Obamacare ruling is a Hamline Law Professor, Emeritus Professor Joe Daly. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, Governor Scott Walker wants a constitutional amendment to allow states to be able to define marriage in their own way. Is that going to work?
It's not going to work. If you read Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, it's very difficult to amend the Constitution. Ultimately, 3/4 of the state legislatures have to approve it once it gets out to the states, and it's very difficult. So you can say all that you want about amending the Constitution. The majority of people in the U.S. are in favor of same-sex marriage. It won't work.
Something else critics are saying is that they want laws passed in states to protect people who, for instance, on religious beliefs, do not want to perhaps cater a gay wedding. Can you pass that kind of a law? Is that legal?
The U.S. Supreme Court has already made decisions about cases where somebody says it violates my religious rights, but they're involved in interstate commerce. They're selling cakes, they're renting rooms, and it's going to be very difficult also for laws to be upheld saying that you can do that. It's different when you say, I'm not marrying someone in my church. That's free exercise of religion, the religion, but to actually say I'm going to interfere with interstate commerce is very difficult. But I think there's going to be more and more laws passed like that as a method of fighting this decision.
All right, but in essence, in terms of this ruling, do you see any way that it could be challenged other than a constitutional amendment?
At this point, it's a liberty right that a person has to marry someone of the same sex. It's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to turn that around.
All right. Let's talk about Obamacare, the other stunning ruling from the Supreme Court. Conservatives and critics of Obamacare are already saying that they are hoping to pass a law eventually, perhaps in the next Congress, to repeal Obamacare. Could there be additional legal challenges, or is this it? Is it here to stay?
I think the GOP, the Republicans, are actually secretly relieved that the U.S. Supreme Court decided that the subsidies, both to state exchanges but also to federal exchange states, have been upheld. I think they're actually secretly relieved. They've premised many years now on attacking what they called Obamacare. Now President Obama has taken on, yeah, okay, call it Obamacare. I think it's going to be difficult. Essentially, I think you're going to have a Republican president, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate to turn this around.
Right. Well, there are some people who say that Republicans would have been in a difficult spot because they would, if it had been declared unconstitutional, they would have had to come up with alternatives, and they weren't ready at that point.
Yeah, there would have been almost 7 million people out of insurance today if it had been turned around.
Let me ask you about a local issue that is attracting a lot of legal attention. A federal judge has ruled that the state sex offender civil commitment program is unconstitutional. The governor said again last week that he is going to challenge this in court, that the state will appeal. What is your reaction to that as somebody who studies constitutional law? Does the state have a chance on appeal?
It has some chance because the state has what in the law is called a compelling state interest to make sure the safety of the people are protected. It has some chance, but Judge Frank's ruling seems to be, I've read it pretty carefully, seems to be very tightly constructed, and the fact is nobody seems to get released out of the Minnesota system.
I think only 3 people have, yes.
Right, without some kind of court order.
All right, well, Joe Daly, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.